Hey seniors, today we're going to talk about rate of change from graphs. So some of this is going to be reviewed from yesterday and other parts you should remember. So let's go ahead and jump right in. On your notes page, go ahead and draw a line. Go ahead and write rate of change from graphs in the top left-hand corner. Don't worry about this yet, I'm going to tell you what to write. So just a reminder from yesterday, rate of change is another word for slope. Initial value is another word for y-intercept. Write that on your notes page again. I want to make sure you guys have that. So, our agenda for today is figuring out what the x-axis represents and the y-axis represents, looking at the meaning of variables and equations to determine the initial values and rate of change. This last bullet point I definitely want you to write. When finding rate of change on a graph, find the slope between 2 points. Write that on your notes page. Let's go ahead and do an example. This first one I'm going to model for you. You don't need to write, you just need to listen. All right. So sometimes we're going to just be given equations and we need to understand what they mean in real life ideas. So a towing company charges a one-time fee as well as a constant fee for every mile you need your car towed. This can be represented by the equation y equals 6x plus 60, where x represents the total cost of having your car towed. So I have a one-time fee and a constant fee for every mile you need your car towed. So, my first question, what is the one-time fee charged by the towing company? The one-time fee is going to be $60. I know that because the total cost is made up of a fixed rate as well as the cost per mile. So I would only pay $60 one time, and then I would pay $6, an additional $6 for every mile my car was towed. And I know that 60 isn't being multiplied, so I know that it must be my initial cost or the one-time fee. And that would be my, and it makes sense because it's in the y-intercept spot, which would be my initial value. What does the x variable represent? X must represent the number of miles a car is towed, and I know that because there is a fee for every mile. If I go back to my problem, it says a constant fee for every mile you need your car towed. And to find that cost, I would multiply the number of miles my car was towed by 6. So if I wanted to figure out what the total cost would be for just having my car towed 2 miles, I would just plug in 2 for x. So let's do that. So I have y equals 6 times 2 plus 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And then if I add that to 60, that's going to give me 72. So if my car was towed 2 miles, I would have to pay $72. All right, and my last question, what does 6 represent in the constant of the problem? We've already kind of talked about that. 6 represents the cost per mile that you have your car towed. You see how in-depth that was? Those are the kind of things we need to start writing on our equations. Let's do one with a graph. All right, this is a little bit fuzzy, so just kind of stick with me. Since Ken and Ron started their business, the money they have spent on supplies has increased every year. This graph is representing the cost of supplies, where the x-axis tells me how many years, and the y-axis tells me the cost in thousands of dollars. What is the rate of increase in the cost of supplies? This is $1, $2, $1,000 per year, or $2,000 per year. All right, so whenever I'm trying to figure out the constant rate, I need to figure out what the slope is. So I need to find the slope between 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my y-intercept. Graph starts at 0, so we'll start there as well. When I'm finding slope, I want to do rise over run. So I'm just finding the slope between these 2 points. And I see that my rise is 1, and my run is also 1. And that's going to simplify down to just 1. So my rate of increase is just 1. But again, I'm interested in the rate of increase in the cost of supplies. So, where x is 1, y is also 1, which makes sense. But 1 is actually represented by 1,000, because remember, the y-axis is representing costs in thousands of dollars. So my answer choice is C. For the first year, my cost of supplies will be $1,000. Make very sure that you pay attention to your units on your graph. Let's do another one. All right, this graph is representing earnings at work. The x-axis is telling me how many hours were worked, and the y-axis is telling me dollars earned. My question is, what is the rate of increase for dollars earned? Again, I'm just finding my slope, so I'm looking for rise over run. So I need to find the rise and run between two clear points. So I'm going to start at my y-axis and find the next clear point. And find the slope between these 2 points. So my rise is going to be 1, because again, I see I go up 1, and then I go over 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So this tells me that for every hour worked, let's just say 1 hour, I'm going to make about $4 for each hour worked. So I start off at 40, and then for every hour worked, I'm going to make an additional $4. So that's all you have to do in terms of finding your rate of increase from a graph. Just find the slope between 2 different points, and that will tell you what it means. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. Let's go ahead and practice.